Hello, this is Mr. Red Fox, and I'm making this video because I was on PC Gamer's website, and I was watching how, essentially speaking, these people were making excuses for Bethesda. The article I was reading was essentially, the topic was talking about how Microsoft bought ZeniMax. And someone in the comments said, well, maybe now that Microsoft owns ZeniMax and Bethesda, they'll make Bethesda will stop releasing games that are so broken. And, people are like, well, making excuses for, not a lot, but there are some people who are making excuses for Bethesda's continuous lack of quality with their games. And the way I feel about it is, why would you accept a company constantly releasing games that have essentially the same bugs over and over and over again? Like, why would you accept that? Why would you accept these things? And not only that, but why would you defend this stuff, So this video is just going to be me talking about how these arguments and countering them. So without much ado, let's get into it after the cut. So the first excuse that you hear quite a bit is, but these games always have bugs like that because they're sandbox games. They're huge sandbox games. Here's the problem with that argument. There are other huge games that have come out on console and PC that don't have those types of bugs. Case in point, The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 is a huge sandbox-style game, and I'm pretty sure no one fell through the floor in that game. I'm pretty sure no one ever entered a building and was like, man, this is probably going to crash once I enter a building. GTA 5. GTA 5 is on console and PC, and that game is huge. And that game had bugs, but none of them were, oh my god, I better, if I play for longer than 3 hours, this game, there's going to be a memory bleed and the game is going to crash. Like, you didn't have to worry about that playing that game. And on consoles, Xenoblade Chronicles X crashed twice on me. No, crashed once on me on the Switch. But here, I'll let you in on a little secret. One of my favorite sandbox open world RPGs of last gen was Xenoblade Chronicles X. And that game was huge. Friggin' huge. Lots of stuff going on. And guess what? Never, not once, did the game crash on me. Yeah, there may have been characters loading as you were going in, as you were walking around the world. Enemies may have popped up from nowhere, but shit wasn't just crashing, okay? So the argument, and that was on the Wii U, which was, not the most powerful 8th gen console. So the argument that, oh my god, the argument that, well, these games are demanding. Look, sandbox style games, the only reason that Bethesda gets credit for their sandbox style games is because Bethesda's games are essentially for all intents and purposes, Bethesda's games are, how can I put this nicely? Bethesda's games had no competition, okay? There was no one else making games of that scope during the time period, okay? But now there are people who are making games like that. Like, I'm sure The Witcher 3, not The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be a huge game. And I'm pretty sure that game is going to shit all over its closest equivalent, which would be Fallout 4, Fallout 76. So the argument that, well, you know, this game is AAA and blah, 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 that's bullshit. That's total and complete bullshit. And people need to stop with that shit. Stop making the excuse, well, these games are so huge, obviously there's going to be bugs. That's inexcusable, okay? It's not a valid reason for these games to be broken like that. So the next excuse after the cut. So the second excuse is, the engine is old, therefore, the problem is the engine. I've used this excuse myself. Well, the problem is the engine. The fact of the matter is that the engine that Bethesda uses for their games has been used for years. Years and years and years by other developers, and they didn't have those types of problems with the engine. The engine that they use is NetImmerse. It was an engine used in MMOs so that basically, tons of players could play a game on a server, and their commands could basically be used, from different inputs. The data could be used from different users at the same time without crashing the system. Okay, that's what it was made for. Now Bethesda basically took that engine and used it in a single player game, which technically speaking means that because you don't have those millions of people, all these people using inputting data into a gaming world, it's only just one person and AI NPCs following a subroutine, that it should be even more stable. The last somewhat stable game Bethesda released was Morrowind. Oblivion used the same engine, so they renamed it and called it the Gamebryo engine. Then they basically took the Gamebryo engine, put a new physics engine on it, and changed the scripting engine to something else and called it the Creation engine. It's the same shit. And really, at this point, it's not even the engine. It's the fact that Bethesda never wants to stretch themselves. Basically, someone at Bethesda, they need to, and you can't say they don't have the money. They should have hired some type of hardcore developer to basically go in and overhaul their engine from the ground up. Which is what they should have done years ago. Years ago. And yet, we haven't gotten that ever from Bethesda with their games. We continue to get the same sorry ass shit we've been getting for years now. Which at this point, I don't know how you can legitimately say that the quality of games that we're getting from Bethesda are worth it. Because they aren't. They aren't. They aren't worth it. So, you're basically, and you can look at it from Oblivion to Skyrim to Fallout 3 to Fallout New Vegas to Fallout 4 to Fallout 76. You're getting the same bugs in all of these Bethesda games. You're getting games that if you play, that you're getting memory issues where if you play the game too long, it'll crash. You're getting issues where, if you load the game, if you play it too long and the memory is, and there's too much memory being used, by shoddy programming, the game, you enter into a building and the game, you'll like the building won't properly load, so you'll fall through the floor for eternity. I mean, patches that break the game. Like, and this is like vanilla, okay? This is, and I know what some people say, well, you can play these games with mods. That's not an excuse. Mods don't mean anything. Mods do not change how fucked up this shit is. Mods don't fix the issue, okay? Mods are basically the equivalent of taking, mods are the equivalent of going to a restaurant and essentially, you know, having leftovers, bringing them home, and doing something to the leftovers to make them interesting, so that you can eat them, so that you can finish off your meal, right? But I mean, Bethesda, the way Bethesda treats modders, it's as if you go to a restaurant, the food being the product that you order, being the game. And not only is the food that when it finally comes to your table all messed up, but then someone at another table looks over at what you ordered and says, oh yeah, they do that all the time. Here, follow me, get in your car, take your meal, come to my house, and I'll cook it in my kitchen to make it better for you. And that's what Bethesda does. They rely on the modding community to make their games better. It is not modders' duty to make your games better. Because your engine, because you basically are so lazy, you do the bare minimum to make your games work. But that's what Bethesda does. Bare minimum, perfect. Which leads to my last excuse, to my third and last excuse that people keep on using to defend Bethesda, which is, in my mind, the most egregious. So we'll get to that after the cut. So, this is my most egregious and, to me, the most annoying argument I hear, excuse that I hear when people defend Bethesda and other companies that release games that miss the mark. Not just buggy, but just games that aren't what they should be. Well, I enjoyed it, so it must be good. That is really fucking stupid. It's stupid for a variety of reasons. The big one being that, you know, there has to be standards. And when I say standards, I don't mean industry standards or, you know, standards of standard operating procedure. There has to be standards of, okay, this is good, this is not good. And I mean objectively good or objectively bad, okay? Or something that's merely acceptable. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with shit being acceptable or objectively good or objectively bad. But don't fucking take some shit that should be relegated to the depths of time and tell me that it's good. Okay? Like, because here's the thing, okay? There are things that people enjoy that are not good. For example, there are people who enjoy being in toxic relationships. Doesn't make that relationship good. There are people who enjoy smoking crack. Doesn't make crack good. Just because you enjoy something doesn't make it good. In order for a product to be good, okay, you know, from an objective standpoint, it should be of a certain quality. It should not have a detriment to the person using it. And it should be of, you know, a certain level of value to money. I mean, value to cost. Okay? Like, you know, so, I mean, you know, like, the 3 All-Stars is, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, just on a subjective level, just because I already have those games, but it's good. You get 3 games, $60 purchase, so they're basically 20 a piece. And, you know, I mean, even though Mario Sunshine is subjectively my least favorite Mario game, for people who don't have that game, that's a pretty good deal. 20 bucks a piece, 3 good Mario games, that's good. But Bethesda's shit, I mean, these games are not objectively good. Okay, you shouldn't have to download patches to fix a game that's fundamentally broken. Which is what people have to do for Bethesda games. Oh, this is fundamentally broken. Well, I guess I'm going to download a whole bunch of shit to fix it. That's not good. People, you should not have to download. Basically, playing a Bethesda game, and I don't mean all the other studios that ZeniMax owns. I mean it's Bethesda proper. Playing a Bethesda game is essentially like going in and it's like buying a brand new car and then having to essentially take the car to a mechanic after you bought it and have a mechanic overhaul it immediately after you bought this brand new vehicle. Now, if that's unacceptable for a brand new car, or if you bought a brand new fridge or a brand new whatever, why is it acceptable for games to be like that? From a company that this is not like a one-off thing. It's not like, well, we had one buggy game. Every Bethesda game has major, especially, you know, from Morrowind forward, you know, Morrowind not so much, but Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, all these games have major issues. Like coding technical issues. And no one, people are like, well, you know, I enjoyed it. That's not, that shit's unacceptable. Okay? It's unacceptable. And people need to stop with that. They need to stop making the excuses for it. That's my own personal opinion. I'll get to the conclusion after the cut. So here's my conclusion. Basically, people need to hold people accountable. You should expect more and don't settle for less. So what I mean by this is gamers should expect more. So Bethesda and ZeniMax, I mean, ZeniMax was bought by Microsoft, which means, you know, like all these studios are under Microsoft's aegis, okay? People should not allow Bethesda to release, Microsoft should not allow Bethesda to release games that are fundamentally broken like that on their platform. It should be unacceptable. It's like, look, if this shit isn't ready, don't put it out there. Give it another 6 months, give it another year. Because here's the thing, there's no excuse for that shit. There's no excuse for games being that broken day one. It's unacceptable. And I stand by that statement. It's unacceptable. You know, and if gamers held these companies accountable for when they fuck up, they would do it less. Okay? But that's my own personal opinion. Give me your thoughts. Tell me what you think about it. Do you agree, disagree? What are some companies that you think definitely need to go on the list of their fandoms need to stop making excuses for their bad behavior? Let me know in the comment section. We can have a dialogue. So that being said, that's been this video. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace and good day.
get going, I'm gonna see a friend of mine. He's round and he's fuzzy, I love